everybody, my name is Jordan Plath. I'm a pro makeup artist for Krylon USA, also the showroom manager for Krylon City, San Francisco. I'm joined here today with Tim Pearson. Say hello,
Hello.
Tim.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tim. I, as well as Jordan, am a pro team member for Krylon, and I am the showroom manager for Krylon City, New York. Happy to be with you today as we talk about...
Yes,
what are we talking about
going
today?
to be discussing male grooming in the digital age, and we are so excited to share with you today a brand new product from Krylon called Digital Complexion. This is a foundation line that is absolutely revolutionary. It's been many, many years in the making. I remember several years ago, you and I actually tested a kind of a prototype. And yeah, it's gone through various incarnations until it's gotten to this point. And it's absolutely amazing stuff. This line comes in creams, it comes in liquids, there's neutralizers, concealers, and there's a fantastic finishing powder as well. Tim, could you talk about what sets this line apart from other foundations that might be comparable?
So this range of foundation was developed specifically with a new innovative pigment that they wanted to make sure that the makeup was not appearing too glossy on camera, that it had a lifelike appearance, that it didn't look too cakey. You still wanted to have a realistic complexion when they were done with this foundation. So what they did was they started at the base of everything, and that's the pigments that are used to create the actual makeup that's worn on the skin. The pigment actually, instead of having a smooth spherical surface that reflects light in all directions, has a bit more of a bumpy texture to it. So when the light hits it, it has a tendency to glow from within. And this formula has a bit more of a matte or semi-matte finish, so you get this really beautiful, lifelike foundation that doesn't look like a mask when you're wearing it. And it looks great in person, and it also looks wonderful on camera.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the amazing things about this is that it is so well suited for the new technology. But it looks so natural in real life as well. So it's a very versatile product. And we found that, just as many people are purchasing it for everyday use as they are for using in a professional setting as well. And speaking of professional settings, there's so many, I always said that, this technology that comes out, this ultra scrutinizing cameras that pick up every gruesome detail of skin texture and pores and microfine little hairs. It's a makeup artist's absolute worst nightmare. So you need to be armed with the proper tools when you're working with these cameras. And that's exactly what Digital Complexion is. It's almost like a built-in filter in the formulation.
Yeah.
So that is the core of this demonstration today. We're also going to be talking about other techniques and tricks and things that you would apply to a makeup for making someone look camera ready. And these things, even though this is focused on male grooming, these techniques can be applied towards all genders as well. And we're living in an age where everyone is on camera right now. Everybody has access to this technology. Just the phones that we use, our smartphones, are now equipped with cameras that are more powerful than anything we've worked with before. So these techniques we're going to teach you are going to be very useful for a variety of different settings. So Tim, what else, in addition to this fabulous Digital Complexion foundation, what else are you going to be using today?
Well, to start out, I actually needed to clean some of the grime from New York City off of my skin. We're wearing masks and it's cold outside, so everything's all kind of covered up, and you think, oh, my skin's not going to be having issues like that. But I needed to make sure that I took some time to cleanse my skin prior to our little conversation today. So I did start out with, the new Clean and Care Natural Cleansing Oil. This is a fully vegan range of skincare and aftercare. It's wonderful to remove any kind of residue on the skin. If you're taking oil-based products off of the skin, this is really an amazing way. It has a nice light fragrance to it as well. Leaves your skin nice and soft. You can use a cotton pad and remove this, or you can use a splash of water just to help to rinse it away. And then after, I followed up with the natural micellar water, also from the Clean and Care range. This is one of our new products for an easier makeup removal that doesn't contain oil. So one for your waterproof products that does contain oil, and then for your non-waterproof products or for quick touch-ups makeup removal, you would want to use the micellar water. So that's good for like day-to-day, as well as the men's grooming or your beauty. I'm going to be working today with Digital Complexion in the Digital Complexion Cream Foundations. They come in a really nice glass jar with a tight screw-on lid. So I'll have 3 colors that I'm working with, as well as the Digital Complexion neutralizers and concealers. And we will finish off with the Digital Complexion Finish a little bit as I share more information about that range. We also have we have some primers that we can talk to you about, as well as some more skin prep for our Dermacolor Collagen Cream. Right now, my skin is so parched because of the cold weather, so I need a little extra moisture to my skin. I love collagen cream because it does have 3.53% collagen in it, which is a higher percentage of collagen than what you can purchase of any product on the market right now. It's more than what you can actually absorb into your skin. So you go really light in your application, and you get this beautiful second skin application, second skin feel on your skin, and it just really helps to make everything lay nicely. So it helps to take care of any fine lines, which some of us, when we get a bit older and we start to see some gray show up in our facial hair, maybe it's time that we start giving ourselves a little bit more love and taking care of our skin more. So I'm using that. I also have here some mustache wax, which may come into use. I have the mascara. This is the Cake Mascara in black and brown. So many things. I don't want to cover it all. I don't have anything to tell you all of it. Jordan, what about you?
Oh, I've got some good stuff. I'm going to be focusing on, you're using the cream from the Digital Complexion range. I'm going to be using the liquid. This stuff is so amazing. It's like liquid gold. I'm going to be using primer. I think I'm going to start out with our Ultra Underbase, which is a great moisturizing primer. Again, great for dry skin. I think, moisturizing and prepping the skin is such an important part of before you begin any type of makeup. And male grooming, a lot of guys let's face it, don't take great care of their skin. So skin prep is absolutely important before you put anything on. What else am I going to be using? I'm going to be using some of the neutralizers for just a little bit of color correction. The finishing powder, I've got some eyebrow powder here for filling in the brows, and some various things here and there. And I think we'll just get going, and we'll talk about the products in greater detail as we are going along here. So I'm going to start out, I have clean skin, and I'm going to start out with just a very thin layer of the Ultra Underbase. Primer with this range, with this line, Digital Complexion, is actually not necessary. It is almost like built-in primer within the formulation. But I also have a little bit of dry skin right now. It's very dry weather, so I like to put a little bit of this Ultra Underbase on just to condition my skin. And it looks like, Tim, you're buffing some primer on as well.
Well, I had a little dollop of that collagen cream that I was talking about, and I'm using this Domed Perfector brush from the new Blue Master brush range that these just launched this year, the Blue Master range. Well, this year. In 2020, they launched in 2020 for the Blue Master range. So I'm just kind of going to be using this same brush to apply a lot of the makeup. I like to start out with my cream or my primer using the brush, and then my brush is already saturated and it gives me a little bit more control of the product that I put on top of it.
Yes. I am just buffing a little bit of that Ultra Underbase on, just like a pea-size amount. And my skin is feeling nice and smooth and supple, and I'm ready to begin. So, one thing about cameras, again, talking about how they can be a makeup artist's worst nightmare, they tend to bring out colors and little details that we don't see with our own eyes. Sometimes they pull certain colors out and other colors are kind of pushed back. I notice on camera that I get a lot more color that's noticeable around my eye area. So I'm gonna neutralize that with some of the Digital Complexion neutralizing brush on concealers. So this comes in a nice little handy applicator with a brush on the end. For sanitation purposes, I'm going to take a little bit of this out and put it on my mixing plate, so I'm not applying the built-in brush directly to my skin. I'm using a little bit of DCN47. This is kind of like a deep salmon color. I'm gonna be mixing a couple colors together to make a custom color for myself. And then I'm using the DCN44, which is a nice light lemon sort of brightening color. How many colors are in the neutralizer range? There's like 6, I think, right?
I believe there's 6 or 7 neutralizers. There's an orange, there's a red, there's a nice neutral tone, one that leans a little more golden as well. And there's a lavender. So there's several options when it comes to the neutralizers. If you understand color theory well, if you have the neutralizers, you should be able to mix and create any foundation shade that you need. So some people may feel like, oh, I just need the Digital Complexion concealers in my kit. But that's not always the case. There might be different reasons for different foundations. One thing I want to ask Jordan real quick. Jordan, do you always have to do like the concealing and the correcting around the eyes first? Or is that something that we could do as a second step after applying foundation?
You can certainly do it as a second step. Everybody has their own method. I like to do a little of each. I put a little bit of neutralizer underneath, maybe a little concealer, and then I go in with my foundation on top, and then sometimes I just touch up a little bit afterwards. So what I've done here is I'm just blending these two colors a little bit. And focusing mostly on this kind of lemony brightening color, because the discoloration I see under my eyes is really almost kind of like a bluish purple. So in terms of color theory, I'm choosing kind of a lemony color, which is a little bit of that deeper salmon, just to make it a little bit more warm, to neutralize this very cool gray, blue, purple color I get around and kind of in the corners of my eyes. And I'm just using a very, very tiny amount. This line is also somewhat self-setting. So powder is not absolutely required with the line, but we do carry a finishing powder within the line. It's absolutely fantastic, which is kind of just like a final buffer. It helps kind of soften everything and bring it all together.
Looks great. It looks like it's got a really beautiful glow, what you're doing there.
I already feel more alive and healthy looking.
Nice. Well, while Jordan is working here on his area, I'm going to be using the Digital Complexion cream. So I'm working with 3 colors here. I'm using 011, that's olive. toned. So that would be one of the lighter colors. I'm also working with P6, that's more of a pink tone, a pink undertone. And I'm gonna give some warmth to my skin with D36. That's one of our darker colors. So that'll help to build some warmth. When I do a complexion, I really like to kind of bounce between 2 to 3 colors, because most people don't have like one big concentration in certain areas, you know? So it really helps to build up that complexion and give a really gorgeous, natural, realistic look as you go. And then I'm going to use a bit of here. This is the Digital Complexion Concealer. I'm going to use the shade P4 because my under eyes are a little bit towards the green and sometimes purple tone, but I find that this is a very peachy color, so it helps to give me some brightness under eyes. And if I need to give a little bit more of a boost, I'm going to use one of the neutralizers, the DCN43, which is just a bit almost like I want to say a neutral lightning color. You can see there, it almost looks white on camera, but in person, it appears to be a bit more golden. So I'm just gonna use that same brush that I was using to apply my moisturizer to start with my foundation. And I'm gonna start with that middle color first and start to pull a bit of the lighter shade in. And just start in the center of my face, because that's really where I need most of my coverage. And I'll just buff it in with this domed perfecting brush.
Yeah, it's already looking, just that little bit you put on, you can definitely notice kind of a softening effect. So
for me, I sometimes have an issue with a hyperpigmentation that shows. It depends on how much sun I've taken, but this summer I didn't take a lot of sun, but still in makeup, under makeup, this little hyperpigmentation shows up. So that's definitely something I may need to go back and address as I go, just to make the skin look a little more even. Sorry, Jordan, go ahead.
No, it's fine. There's just so much to talk about. So I have neutralized the areas around my eyes, and I think I'm just gonna go in now and start applying foundation just as you are. I'm gonna be using P05 from the Digital Complexion Fluid Foundation range. And this is a nice, obviously, I think you can see from camera that I have kind of a pink undertone. This is actually a little bit warmer than my own skin tone, which I like the appearance of on camera. It just makes me look a little bit more alive and not so deathly, because I am quite pale, so I'm trying to add a little bit of life in my face.
Just a bit more fair.
Yes, I'm a little bit more fair.
Well, it's always good to have a healthy appearance on camera. I think, you know, like as professional artists, a lot of times we focus so much on how beautiful they look right in front of us, and then oftentimes forget to see how does it read on camera under the lighting that it's actually going to be viewed under. It makes such a huge difference to make sure that the foundation actually matches the skin and they look their best on camera. So
absolutely. And that's one thing as a artist, you always have to take a look and see what it looks like behind a camera, because oftentimes the camera, as I mentioned earlier, will bring out things that you don't see with your own eyes. So it may look great in person, but make sure you take it in front of a camera to make sure all the colors are balanced and you have everything neutralized properly. So I'm just taking this foundation brush and just pulling a little bit of product onto the brush and kind of starting in the center of my forehead. I'm going to buff the product on, and I don't know why I usually start from the top of my forehead and work my way down on the face. It's just the way I work. Pulling the product down.
So Jordan, can you tell, like, what's the difference between the Digital Complexion Foundation Fluid and the Digital Complexion Foundation Cream? Why are there two, and which one is best for whom?
Well, there's two because, there's different people have preferences. I like working with the fluid just because I like the feel of it. Although it's a little bit more sheer, you can build the coverage. You can apply it in layers and get, stronger coverage. I like using very minimal amount of makeup. For me, I always feel like less is more. I just want to take it to the point where I look like a human being in front of the camera and not so gruesome.
You want to be a robot.
Yeah. So I just, I take it to the point where I look like how I feel I should look and then stop it there. But if I do need a little bit more coverage, then I can simply apply a few layers. Now the cream is much more viscous than the fluid. We found that it works a little bit better on people who have drier skin, maybe people who actually have a little bit more mature skin, a little bit more wrinkles and whatnot. I'm working on that, not quite there yet, but the fluid I prefer for my own skin type. And how do you feel about the two formulations? Why would you choose one over the other, Tim?
Well, the fluid is something that's supposed to be self-setting, so it doesn't technically need powder for it. The fluid is great for normal to oily skin, so you wouldn't really need that powder unless you just have hot spots, areas that you know that you're going to get shine in the skin, or where you have a tendency to see movement in the foundation. Those are areas that you would like to give a powder. And again, we do have the digital complexion finish, which is a powder that is totally invisible, even on the deepest skins. It's colorless, and you just need the tiniest amount. And actually, I'll show it to you. I'll end up using it, I know, because I am using the cream, and the cream is semi-self-setting, but needs to have a powder on top of it to set. So this is the digital complexion finish. It has a special sifter in top that will keep the product from falling out, and then a nice cap that will help to lock that in. So when you travel, you don't have a huge mess.
Yeah, that I love the sifter in it. It really is quite innovative. It does it. It's nice because it prevents powder exploding out into your face when you open it. It just gives you the right amount of powder, and whatever is not used, it kind of goes back down into the container.
Oh yeah.
So I am taking the foundation, and you want to make sure that you cover all exposed areas of the face. One thing that is oftentimes noticeable on camera, you notice this oftentimes with news anchors and whatnot, is that sometimes their foundation will end at the jawline, or they don't get their ears, or they don't even get their hands. You got to make sure all exposed areas of the skin are addressed, are covered with a little bit of foundation so that you look even. Foundation, especially this foundation, bounces light back a little bit differently than bare skin would. But bare skin is translucent to an extent, so it's going to absorb some of the light, whereas this has a little bit of reflective quality. So if you don't put foundation over the areas of the face and body, you're going to notice a difference. This is true of all types of makeup.
Oh, totally.
So I make sure I'm getting on my neck. I get it into my ears. And if you were going to see my hands and whatnot, I'd probably just pull a little bit on the top of my hands as well.
Nice.
I feel like I'm looking pretty even here. And
it looks pretty even, yeah.
Yeah, and it just has this really nice natural kind of finish that skin should have. It looks very, very natural on camera. Not too matte, not too shiny.
So I'm applying a bit of the digital complexion concealer in P4 just under the eye. I like to go in and kind of tap it into the tear trough where the majority of my darkness is. That is meaning that I'm giving precise product placement in a certain area, and then I can start to feather it into the skin. It is a self-setting concealer, so you don't necessarily need to add a powder over the top of it, and you can build it out. I find that when we first tested this product, it was a bit more pigmented than it is when I'm seeing it go on the skin now. Or maybe it's just because we were in Berlin and my skin was so dry that it just dried up so fast. But I do find that it kind of, I anticipated it to originally be a bit heavier in the application, honestly. I thought it was going to be heavier, but I do find that this product is a bit more of a luxurious feel in the way that it just kind of helps to melt right into the skin as you apply it. And, you know, for a person who doesn't really wear a lot of makeup, those type of things are important. You never want to put a lot of makeup on if you don't wear it. And, you know, for people that they want to keep it very simple, you know, you want to keep this idea that the makeup doesn't have to be intense. So I'm also going to go back and get just a little bit more brightness before I do other things, just on the outside of my eyes with the DCN 43.
Yeah, it's looking great, and I love that description you gave, the way your skin sort of accepts it, how it just kind of melts into it. And it's such a light feeling on the face. I don't feel like I'm wearing anything at all, which I really appreciate in a makeup. Okay, so I've got foundation on. I'm going to move on to the next step for my application, Tim, if that's all right.
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
And you know, one thing again that cameras have a tendency to do is kind of washing things out. You want to make sure that you look defined, that your eyes are defined and stand out. So one important thing to do is to make sure your eyebrows are defined. Now, I'm not going for like a super sharp drag queen eyebrow, although there's nothing wrong with that, but I just want to fill in my brows, and he's like, no, there isn't. I'm going to fill in my brows, just kind of fill in the gaps, and by doing so, it's just going to kind of define my eyes a little bit more. I'm going to use a fantastic product from the line, eye line called Eyebrow Powder. This is, it looks like eyeshadow, but in fact it has a little bit of wax in it, and the wax is designed to adhere to your skin better. And you can use this in two ways. You can use it dry, which I'm going to use it this way, just for filling in brows, or you can wet the surface of the product and actually get more definition. You can, if you want to be this meticulous, you can hand paint little eyebrow hairs into your eyebrows. I'm just using it to fill in my brows, and I'm going to use this darker color, dark, aptly named, with a eyebrow angled brush and just a little bit of product. This stuff is pretty pigmented. I want to start small. I can always build up the color, and kind of starting at the base and focusing on the gaps in my eyebrows. I'm just going to slowly build up the color. Again, I'm not going for super definition. I'm just trying to fill them in and deepen them a little bit on camera. And it looks like, Tim, you're grooming your brows. What are you using there?
Well, you gave me inspiration because I also finished my foundation as well. Oh. So I wanted to go ahead and do some brow too. Now what I'm using is one of our special effects products. This is called Hydromastics. Hydromastics is a water-soluble spirit gum, and a lot of times people will use this to adhere glitter or lightweight gems or something, but it's really good for helping to hold brow hairs up. I don't have a lot of brow hair. I'm not blessed to have big, beautiful, full, bushy brows like so many people. So I have to help to give it a little extra zhuzh. And that's probably because I shaved my brows off for so many years, and now I don't do anything to them. But I used to have a beautiful brow that connected in the center. But I just like to start with the Hydromastics and brush the hairs up. And I just keep brushing until I get to what I want. The good thing is it's water soluble, so it comes off with warm water and a little bit of soap. And then I can go in and I can actually fill my brow in. What I'm going to be using today is the Cake Mascara, which has the black and brown. That'll help to give me a little bit more of intensity. It is water activated, and it does have a little bit of the same microcrystalline wax in there that Jordan was mentioning is in the eyebrow powder. So it does have some water resistancy to it. So it's going to help to stay in place as well.
Speaking of brows, look at my brows.
Nice.
They're looking pretty good. So all I did was just take a minimal amount of product just to fill in some of the gaps without making them look solid. And I also did a little correcting, whereas this one, you know, they always say brows are what? Sisters.
They say they're sisters, not twins.
Yes, so that's definitely the case with my eyebrows, but I made them a little bit more like their siblings by just adding a little bit more arch right here, because this brow is not as high as this other one here, and I'm extending it just a little bit, but I think that looks still pretty natural. And I have a product too that I like to use, Tim, to set my brows. We have a product called Eyebrow Forming Gel, and it is quite simply a hair gel in a tube with an applicator, and it's absolutely fantastic for setting the brows, kind of pinning down any rogue hairs, and making sure they stay in place for the entire day. So I'm just taking a little bit with my disposable mascara wand, and I'm brushing them up and out. And that is going to set them in place and make sure they retain their shape throughout the day. All right.
So I'm just using a bit of water on this very, very fine Blue Master brush. It's a very fine angle brush, great for defining brows and brow hairs. The good thing about having both black and brown in this color is, in this palette, is it gives me two colors to bounce from. I'm going to use this to actually go in and fill in some fine hairs because I'm missing a bit of hair in the front of my brow. So it just really lets me do those soft flicks to really build up the hair in that area. That's something where I need a little bit more push. And you know, the advantage of this being water activated is if you need to dilute it down, you just add a little bit more water if you feel like it's too intense.
So I'm gonna also take some of the Cake Mascara just to fill in some of the gray I have in my beard. I'm very proud of my little gray sprouts, but if you wanted to, you could use the Cake Mascara to conceal gray. So I've just sprayed a little water into the product and scrub it with the surface of my disposable mascara wand. And I'm just gonna kind of brush it in very lightly and cover those grays.
So Jordan is very proud of his sprouts of gray, but I've got a lot more gray than what you can actually see on camera. I'm not going to cover in so much of my gray because it is a part of my look. But if you notice here, in a natural beard that does have a lot of growth, sometimes you'll have areas where it seems like it's patchy. There's hair here in this part of my face, but it's just much lighter than it is anywhere else. So, you know, I still need to fill that in. Alternatively, you could trim and give it a little bit more of a line there if you wanted more of a barbered line, but my beard is more natural, so I don't really do that. I'm going to use the Cake Mascara as well, and I'm using this dual fiber brush from the Blue Master range that's really great. And I'm just going to go in with a little bit of the makeup on the tips, and I'm going to stipple it in just to add a bit more shadow in there and make it look more like hair growing.
That's very clever. It's almost like a special effects technique.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I got my little bits of gray covered. You can also further define the eyes by adding a little bit of liner, not so much that it looks like eyeliner, but you could do things like add a little drop shadow under the eyes. I can actually take a little bit of that cake mascara and just tint the very tips of my eyelashes. Again, not to make it look like I have mascara on, but just to kind of define the lashes. I already have pretty big eyelashes, but if I wanted to just bring out my eyes a little bit more, I'm just gonna take this dark brown color Sudan from our 5 color shades palette, eyeshadow palette Madrid. And I'm taking this tiny little brush that has kind of a circular dome-like edge, and just going on the very outer corners underneath my eyes, right at the lash line. I'm just gonna add a little bit of color. And that's creating a little drop shadow just to give the illusion that the eyelashes are a little bit more full. But again, I'm not going for a sharp, defined line.
Same thing here when it comes to filling in the brow. I'm not going for a sharp, defined line. As a matter of fact, in just that small stipple of color on the skin underneath the beard, on camera, it's very obvious, but in person, it doesn't really even seem like I've added anything. But I'm looking in a monitor as I apply the makeup, so it really allows me to get both the real life view of what I can see in the mirror in front of me, as well as the monitor in front of me. So, you know, if you're doing it for the digital age, which is what we're talking about, you need to make sure that you reference what their camera shows you, not necessarily what the mirror shows.
Absolutely. All right, so I'm taking a little of that cake mascara in black, and I'm just gonna hit the tips of my eyelashes, just the little blonde parts, just to make them a little bit more pronounced. I love this cake mascara for a natural look. It doesn't add body like a traditional mascara would in a tube. It adds color. And it is great for guys, or great for women, anybody who wants to just accentuate their eyelashes a little bit without making them look obviously mascaraed. All right. Oh, you're looking quite nice in the
Well, so you were talking about adding some dimension and warmth. I actually use that deeper color of the Digital Complexion Cream Foundation to give warmth in the outer parts of my face. So I just wanted to build that up. And also I put a little bit just on the outer parts of my bridge, just to kind of help to even out anything that might possibly look heavy here. That's just my personal preference. I think everybody has their own preference for things. Biggest things, you don't want to lose any dimension in the skin. And I've worked with all cream, so I've left it the way it is, as creamy, so I actually can move it around until I'm ready to commit to it. So when I'm ready to commit to that cream and have that final look, I'm not going to make any changes, then I'm going to go in and add my powder where I want. Okay? So right now for me, I have a little bit of a heavier spot right here under my brow. I'm going to put a little bit more of that, where was it? We start seeing ourselves here in the camera, and then all of a sudden we want to make a little changes. That's the problem.
Yeah, of course.
Excuse me.
And
grab that little brush there and buff this spot in.
And since you're doing that, I'm starting to scrutinize my face, and I think I'm going to add a little bit of color to my forehead, because my forehead is, and let's face it, it's a little large, and I think I need to just shade it a little bit, add a little bit of color to it, just to make it look a little more healthy, maybe contour it a little bit. So I'm taking a darker color here, which is, this is D32. And I'm just going to use a little bit. I'm not going for a really heavy contour or bronzing effect. I'm just going to try to shade just a little bit around my hairline. and make it look a little bit less large, I guess. And
well, speaking of large foreheads, since mine goes all the way to the back, I feel like I've got a little shine that's happening here on my forehead. So I'm actually going to use a bit of the digital complexion finish and one of our pointed powder brushes from the Blue Master range. And I'm just going to go in just a soft sweeping motion over the top of the makeup with the powder. And I'm just going to hit those areas where I start to see some shine. And this powder will just help to take that down and make it a bit more of a satin sheen versus like a heavy, heavy, heavy shine that you were seeing before. So see, it's more satiny. It looks still realistic, but it doesn't feel like a heavy powder. You know, like sometimes you put a powder on your brush and then when you touch it to the skin, it's just so drying that as soon as it touches, you have that spot that's left. So
the powder is just incredible. I love this stuff. I know we already talked about it a little bit, but it's not like a traditional setting powder, and there's no pigment in it. So you can also use it on any type of skin shade, no matter how light or how dark the individual is. It's made in such a way, it's made with ingredients that are designed to completely dissolve into any skin color. So totally universal, which is why we only have one in the digital complexion range. That's all you need. So I'm getting back to my little contouring bronzing. I just put a little bit around my hairline. I can also take just a little bit of color if I just want to add a little bit more healthiness to my face. Just a little bit on my cheeks, maybe a little on my nose. Not to go overboard, a little bit more on my forehead. Just to give me a little bit more of a glow here. And I'm just taking a sponge here. This is our Unicorn Perfector sponge and just kind of tapping away little bits of excess. All right, so my eyes are defined. My eyebrows are defined. I've got my foundation on, a little bit of a bronzing color. Another thing that is fairly important for grooming, male grooming for camera is you gotta address the lips. A lot of guys have drier lips. I have fairly dry lips, and I also have kind of thin lips. So I just want to add a little bit of moisture and a little bit of color just to bring them out ever so slightly. And we have a great product for that purpose called Lipstick Sheer. This is an ultra moisturizing lipstick tint. So it just adds a little flush of color, not too much. And most important, it adds a lot of moisture. There's a very, very high content of vitamin E within the formulation. I pulled out two colors just to make a custom color for myself. This one's called Cameron. This one's called Jessica. Jessica is a little bit more of a brown, neutral tone, and Cameron has a little bit more of a rosy tone to it. And I thought kind of a combination of the two works best with my own unique lip color. And then what are you doing there, Tim?
Well, I was adding a little bit of definition around my lashes. I was using the Cake Mascara. As you see, we love the Cake Mascara to do so many things, not just for mascara, but for filling in brows, for filling in patches where things are missing, you know, like to color in grays and things like that. I'm actually going to also jump on the warmth wagon with Jordan here and add a little more additional warmth to my skin. Now that I have set the face with powder, I don't have to worry about things going and sticking and feeling patchy. So I'm gonna reach for my blot powder palette here. The blot powder palette is great because it's very softly tinted, but this is something that you would use as a touch-up on set if you wanted, but I'm actually gonna use the color Deep Dark as a bronzer, which makes an incredible soft bronzer for fair-skinned people, but it also makes a great bronzer that's soft for people that just don't really want to feel like they're wearing a lot of makeup. It just looks like powder. So it gives me some warmth and a little bit more contour that's soft on my face, and I don't look so heavy on the skin. And even for like drag makeup, sometimes I would use this color for drag makeup to get a contour that just kind of sits underneath a blush and looks more realistic, like a natural contour versus something 6 shades too dark.
Yes, I see it slowly emerging there. So
very soft, yeah.
Yes, very soft. I love the lip pursing for added.
I'm not pursing my lips, sir.
They're just full. I'm just jealous, okay? So speaking of lips, I'm gonna go in. I've taken out a little bit of each of those colors here and just blending them right on my metal spatula. And I'm using a lip brush, and I'm just gonna drag it over my lips. And this is adding that moisture, just a tiny bit of shine, not too much. I don't want to look like I have glossy lips. And it's adding just a little bit of color, kind of filling in those dry skin bits.
It's very natural. I chose the lipstick sheer also in Jessica and Eva. This one's a neutral brown and a little bit more coral. I'm gonna put those on my lips as well. I have in the past had people come to me and they say, I want the color you have on your lips. And I'm like, well, that's not something that we sell. That's something that I was born with, which is quite flattering, you know?
That's very flattering.
Sometimes you want to wear a beat lip, and sometimes you don't.
So yeah, my lips they're looking healthy again. I think I've gotten things to a point where I feel like I'm pretty camera ready. The only thing I would maybe do afterwards is take a little bit of the digital complexion finish, this powder, and just buff over just to kind of soften and bring it all together. This is great for touch-ups too, if you find that over the course of an hour or so that some oiliness and shine begins to emerge. Just use a little bit of this, or you could use the blot powder as well, which is designed specifically for taking out shine, finishing, and just kind of buff it over the face. I'm gonna do that now.
While you do that, I am actually going to use a bit of the mustache wax in my mustache. Now, I don't normally do much with it, but in the past, I have worn my mustache to where it was a bit tighter and turned up on the ends. So you can do this if you have a longer stash already, but if you don't and you'd like to, you can always come and visit us at one of the showrooms or order online and get your own mustache from our lace mustache line. And you can do it yourself.
That's great.
So I'm going to use a bit of the mustache wax. It does come out with white in color. However, you can purchase it in black or you can purchase it in brown. This is also an option of something that you can brush in through the brows if you want to create shadow or give just a little bit more volume to the brow without necessarily laying it down the way I did. I'm just going to work this in through the stash. You don't want to put it on so heavily though that, you know, it leaves color. But I'm working with a clear one. I'm just going to brush everything down. You want to brush it down and then brush it out of the way. So, and this is just going to be very liquidy when it comes out of the container, but as it dries, it will give some stiffness.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
I'm going to win myself a German beard and mustache competition. That's what I'm going to do. I came in second place for the New York City Beard and Mustache natural growth over 8 inches a few years ago.
No way! Wow, that's really impressive. Well, Tim, I feel like $1 million right now.
and you look like $1,000,000, but the price point of the foundation is very, very affordable. So you're not looking at spending outrageous amounts like you might if you're purchasing from a more luxury name brand, but you're getting a high quality, luxurious product in a beautiful packaging for a very affordable price from a great professional brand who's been in the industry for years.
Yes. 75 years to be exact, correct?
Yes, 75 years.
And one thing that's fantastic, I mean, there's so many fantastic things about Krylon, but we really listen to makeup artists, what is needed to, perform the job, what's needed for modern technology, and we make makeup accordingly. And everything that we come out with, we formulate ourselves. We pride ourselves in safety and using the highest quality ingredients, so whenever you're working with Krylon that you're working with a quality product. But yeah, I feel like I'm ready for the Zoom meeting, maybe my online COVID safe pandemic date.
Yeah.
Or what have you. And
just feel like you look like yourself, but a more polished version of yourself. So this makeup could be something that you could wear for your day-to-day. It could be something if you're working with male clients, or if you just want a natural makeup. These are small ways that you can actually work with these products and create a beautiful makeup that transitions well for your camera calls.
Absolutely. So, well, I think, does that wrap it up, Tim?
I do believe it does.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone who tuned in. We really appreciate it. We hope you will join us again on a future tutorial. You can always go to krylon.com and see what we've got cooking. We have all these products online and many, many more, thousands of other products. We also will be introducing some new webinars, live education, actual hands-on workshops, which can be found at krylon.com as well. A lot of exciting things in store for 2021. We're all hoping this is going to be a better year than 2020. But anyway, thanks so much for joining, and we'll see you again.
See you very soon. Have a great one.